Glad to have you join us on 60 Minute Nigeria, reaching you live from our Benin Network Center. Just to let you know that this is the program where we take you around the world in 60 minutes. And what this afternoon we'll be looking at the impact of the 500 million naira loan that was given to the country recently. I am Daniel Praise Osedebame. And just to let you know that the World Bank has approved a loan of $500 million to help Nigeria drive women's empowerment. And this became the second loan approved by the World Bank under the new president, Bola Tinubu. And it's a scale-up financing for Nigerian women who are basically of the poorest region. This is to help them boost their businesses. The World Bank has approved this money for women program to scale up, and the scale-up financing will further support the government of Nigeria to invest in improving the livelihoods of women in Nigeria. Okay, we'll pause there now. Let's quickly let you know the guests that we have with us here in the studio. And from my immediate left, I have Comrade Doris Onyechi. She's a civil rights activist. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, viewers.
All right, and of course, sitting close to her is Dr. Kenwa Obaseki, who's a global analyst. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you.
From my extreme left is Barrister Emmanuel Obakbolo. He's a legal professional, and he's also a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us, Barrister.
It's a delight being here. Good afternoon.
Okay, let's start with Comrade Doris, since she's the only female here. By the way, happy Salah to you all. Hope you are enjoying the break anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, let's kick off with you, Comrade Onyechi. Are you sure this money will get to the recipient? To an extent, some analysts are saying with the rate at which we're battling with corruption, if this money finally gets to the government, will it end up getting to the recipient?
No.
So take us through it.
I'm not comfortable. I am not comfortable. I am not convinced that this money will be felt by the poorest of the poor in Nigeria, because we are overlooking the basis that should have been the first thing to do, that we can hit our chest and say that yes, that women will begin to have access to modernity. This issue is this: we have a burning bill on the table before Mr. President.
Okay.
I think he was so fast and quick to sign some of the bills into law, but he overlooked the most, I will tell you, the most important bill.
So the $500 million is not what women need now?
I will come there.
Okay.
He overlooked the most important thing that's supposed to be the first. That means, what am I talking about? The affirmative action bill. He's supposed to quickly rush to assign the affirmative action bill, then and come back to the drawing table and reconsider the plans of borrowing. Let me tell you, the effects of loan, no matter what you think that you can use it to do, we are already being worst hit by the effects of the so many loans Nigerians have borrowed in the past. And that has sprouted, or may I say, has spurred very heavy inflation here in the nation, which has affected the spending capacity, the spending power of every citizen here in Nigeria. And this worst hit, the worst hit is the poorest of the poor. So how can you rob Peter to pay Paul? If you really have women at heart and you want to erase gender equality, I read about the benefits, what they want to use the $500 million to do. Honestly, that is like you drinking from a cup that the inner part is not washed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, let's quickly, thank you so much for that beautiful opening. Let's come to Dr. Obaseki. Is this what we need at this point?
No.
Inflation is hitting us very hard. We are still battling with the subsidy removal. The previous government, anyway, we'll get to that in the course of the discussion, has collected money in the past. But do you think we can come out of this? We'll quickly take a short break now to get your reaction and continue on the program. Don't go nowhere. All right, thank you for staying with us. So still the impact of the $500 million loan that was received from the federal government through the World Bank. And of course, we're told that it will help ensure better economic opportunities for women, which is essential for addressing gender inequality, and it's going to guarantee better education, health, nutrition outcomes for families. And of course, it's going to build women and of course empower communities. I was with you, Dr. Obaseki, and I was asking, is that what we need at this point?
No, I agree with my sister. The loan. The people that need the loan, they are not even on the scene. You don't have a good structure, no good plan that you are showing the nation that you will actually implement that will help the real poor. You see, this money they are giving out to those, who the managers will actually spend that money in a different way. Then we will end up like all those agri programs, Feed the Nation, Omina, all those. You will be worse off than.
Are you saying the government will not make judicious use of the money?
They will not.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay, President Bola Tinubu just came on board and kicking off with $500 million. We were told this is the second time the government is getting aid from the World Bank or other places where they get money from. Barrister Emmanuel, let's have your thought. Take us through what do you think is the best way to generate funds instead of getting assistance from abroad?
My heart bleeds whenever I hear this loan spree as engaged by the political leaders we've seen for the past 8 years. Firstly, there are certain factors to be considered to know the poorest of the poor. Does the president and the National Assembly members know the population of Nigeria?
What are the factors?
That is what I'm talking about. First, you need to have a database of the population of Nigeria. Do we have the database? Two,
census.
How did they come to know about the poorest of the poor amongst the women? Three, where do you find this set of persons? In a country where we don't have the middle class any longer, we have the rich, we have the poor. How do you separate the poorest of the poor from the poor?
A big question.
It gets me worried whenever I hear these men gang up, conspire against the people of Nigeria. For goodness sake, did the National Assembly not approve this purported loan? Why the kind of convoy we saw with the president a few days ago, does it spell that Nigeria is a poor country? Why do these men engage in loan spree, borrow spree, and they keep mortgaging the future of Nigeria, and they feel comfortable in their sleep? But I wonder whether these men sleep.
Barrister Obakwolo, don't forget the wife actually said that they are already rich, they are wealthy, they don't need the country's wealth.
That is what we have seen in the $500 million they've just collected. Really, they are rich.
But it's to empower women.
Then where is their own wealth? Why didn't they borrow us the money? The wife that said that, why didn't she borrow Nigeria the money to show that they are rich, so that we will know at least, like the defunct Zaire, where Mobutu Sese Seko single-handedly borrowed Zaire money, let Tinubu and his family borrow Nigeria's money. Why go to a World Bank? You see all this deception. You see all these people use the instrumentality of government to tell lies, to deceive the people, and they expect us to clap our legs and clap our hands for them. Because he, the president, with all due respect to him, is presenting himself as a Superman president. But I think it will not make any difference. Former President Muhammadu Buhari took us through a spree of loan borrowing. They told us they were going, the school food project or program, how did it end? Even during COVID-19, where there was restriction, people were feeding, they claimed to be feeding children in school. That was what they told us.
During the lockdown?
Yes, during the lockdown. They told us they were feeding children in school. Even on holidays, weekends, they were feeding children in school. The same children who were with their parents. It's a pity that Nigeria is a country where we are too gullible, and these men have taken us for granted. And that is why they have made poverty a strong tool, and they are using it successfully. But one day, the heavens will come down.
All right, now there must be a way out. Let's come to our comrade Onyechi now. He talked about the previous administration. I would like you to react to this. With over $6 trillion debt about Nigeria to the World Bank, is it advisable to keep borrowing?
Anyway, of a truth, there is no country that does not borrow. But this, the borrowing attitude of Nigeria is becoming is appalling. Now, too much of everything is too bad. And when you still look at the reasons they are giving us to still borrow, to still go ahead and borrow, honestly, it has proven that we are not expecting a robust economy in the nearest future, because this excess borrowing will definitely affect the nation's cash outflow. It will actually make us to focus on spending money to repay the loan and the interest that is accrued or attached to it. And you know that it is not healthy to a developing economy like ours, and the economy where the poorest of the poor are being cut off. They are just on their own. We are all living on our own fate, not by what the policies of the government brings, but rather it keeps affecting inflation to go high on daily basis. Today, we can tell you that every Nigerian is choking as a result that we have the fuel subsidy removal still on ground. We are still struggling to adjust to that harsh policy, though it's nice, but why I said harsh is still this implementation I am still talking about. Because when you want to roll out such programs, you should be able to understand the kind of economy that we operate. This economy is where the Naira and the petroleum controls what happens in the market. Okay, now you borrowed and borrowed and borrowed and weakened the Naira. Now they even deliberately has devalued the Naira more and more to become vegetable. And you know the effects that it has, same in the economy, where almost everything that we consume, we import them. And this importation, we see dollar as, in fact, our legal tender. I will tell you. So you are now still borrowing, and borrowing further weakens the same Naira again, the same economy again. So I think it is not people-oriented. That decision, that policy is not people-oriented. We have been clamoring for a change. At least let us breathe. Let them allow us to at least breathe. And you are coming up again with a loan that ordinarily it is not necessary.
Okay, let's quickly come to Dr. Obaseki. You have lived your life in the U.S. You still reside there in a way. Your family stays there. Let's look at the economy of the U.S. where you have been over the years and compare it with what we have here. Is there anything we are doing wrong that we're not getting right?
Yeah, we are doing a lot of things wrong because we don't have to copy the U.S. Standard. You know, if I were to advise Bola Tinubu, the first thing I would do is to concentrate on the rural area, build more markets. For example, Edo State would need close to 100 markets, and say the Niger State, which is almost 4.5 times bigger than Edo, they will need about 430 markets, and they create a loan program. Let's say about 5 trillion, and give loans to all those market women.
5 trillion naira.
Yes, give loans to all those market women, which the United States, they do the same thing too. And you will see all those people you are trying to help, they have money, they be selling, and then more farmers will be farming. That's how to wake up the economy. Then you come to the cities. For example, Benin City needs about 45 markets, standard markets. not this mushroom market you see here, you know. Similar, because when the British first came, they built Oba market. All we had was Agbado market. Then gradually we had New Benin market. But the city has expanded so much. Once you start building markets, that will bring down the need for fuel. You know, it will be cut by 50%. See, that's how you help the poor and still give them the loans, not to go and borrow another $500 million. After a while, we'll be begging for loan forgiveness. If I recall, they have forgiven us more than 10 times. And there is nothing that stops us from begging for loan forgiveness again.
We want to take loan to
prepare loan. And if you look around, you ask yourself, all the previous loans they have taken, what have they used them for? Where is the evidence? No evidence. So I agree with my sister. The first thing she said is that no, it's not going to, that money will not get to the grassroots.
Okay, we are going to take a short break. That will take us to the headlines for 2. And when we return back, we'll take a full blown of the discussion. Don't go nowhere. Right, welcome back from the news headlines break. We're still looking at the economic impact of the World Bank loan that we received in the nation. And the World Bank also stressed the need for government to address issues that inhibit women's economic empowerment and hinder inclusiveness. Let's come to Doctor. We were with you, Doctor? Or
yeah,
now, we're still with you. Okay, now let's come to Barrister Emmanuel. Barrister Emmanuel, if this money is meant for women, and is aimed at raising their living standard, how well do you think they should start looking at to go beyond borrowing and empower these women locally?
I don't know what we are to look at. In the first place, I did say in my introduction that we don't have the database here in this country. We don't have any database. In fact, we do not know the population of Nigeria. Do we? We only estimate.
We also have census very soon.
For how many years?
Very soon.
Over 3 decades?
Very soon.
And here we are pretending. See, I will not pretend. In 1999, when we began another train of nascent democracy, like they call it, and the politicians are still using that language, nascent democracy. A child of 20 years old, nascent democracy. We saw the step taken by the then president Olusegun Obasanjo under the supervision of Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, where Nigeria came up with the program and appeal for debt relief. As it were, that administration succeeded in appealing to the world, and some of our debts were said to be what? Forgiven. In 2011, we saw a situation where the administrator of then President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan started with another borrowing. And at a point, they were borrowing to pay salary. And they hid it from the people. Until the same Okonjo-Iweala cried out and said, look, we need to have a safe. And she projected a program that was called Sovereign Wealth Fund. But we were made to understand that 2 governors then were against it. The person of Comrade Adams Oshomole and Rotimi Amechi of Rivers State. And the excuse the government gave us was that hence 2 persons, 2 superpowers in Nigeria refused it. That program did not see the light of the day. In 2015, when Mr. Integrity, quote now, came on board, the person of President Muhammadu Buhari, we saw borrowing spree. To the extent that we even saw a then Minister for Transport on national television telling us that our money they loaned, they borrowed from wherever, from China, they use it to go and beg Niger Republic to construct rail from Nigeria to an arid region called Niger Republic. They were using our money to beg the people. We saw him.
So you see that as misplacement of priority.
First class. High degree of senselessness. With all due respect to him and that administration. We saw it. Now, they told us renewed hope. And the renewed hope, the first step to be taken is to go and borrow $500 million on the guys that they want to give it to women because that family is super rich. For goodness sake, who are they deceiving? Do they know that they are gradually sinking this nation? That Nigeria is going down the drain. If they have planned or map out or projected that in the next 100 years, when they eventually leave the surface of this earth, their children will not suffer.
Okay.
They should know that Nigerians are suffering.
All right, take us through the implication of these borrowings. It seems it's something we need to take care of quickly. How can we come out of these borrowings? What should we do quickly as a government?
We must realize that the national GDP relies on the livelihood, the quality of livelihood support to people at the rural level. Because this set of persons are the ones that gears the economy, no matter how you look at it. Now, you will ask me, what are the basic things, needs of life? These basic needs of life is shelter, food, and clothing, right? And I will tell you that in Nigeria, the most basic need that we need today is food. Are you getting me? Shelter, you can manage. Every Nigerian can manage. Every Nigerian can manage clothing. Now, that food that we eat, the people that are in the front line in the production of this food, they are all in rural villages. And those rural villages, most of them are even being cut off from the national grid. They are not being considered in the sense that today we are clamoring and crying for effects of climate change. Have we paid attention to those aspects? Have we reasoned or have a rethink about how people are suffering, losing their community, their farmlands, their buildings, their crops, and every other thing? I think borrowing from the upper class, let me just say from the center, is not really what will give us the basic solution. We have a lot of nice policies that we are not even putting in place. These women that we are holding as an excuse to go and borrow this loan for. Of course, there is no borrowing that has no implication, which has to do with causing severe cash outflow, which later will now affect the nation to hit inflation. Now, our inflation is more than 47% in this nation, and we are still stretching our hands to go and borrow more. It means that we are causing disaster. Now, every expending power of every Nigerian has been affected. Now, what you can afford with 1,000 naira now is less. So everybody is choking. So how can you tell me that we are still struggling? You keep borrowing. You keep surprising us with loans year in, year out. And you know that borrowing weakens our economy in the sense that we'll keep on spending money to repay and the interest that is accrued to it. Government will have less money to invest in other investments, in other sectors of the economy, which affects these same people. It boils down to those same people who farm rice, those same people who farm cassava that produces garri to put on the table of every Nigerian, those people that farm cotton that produces what these cloths that we are putting on, the textiles we are putting on, we are not considering them. Even the SMEs, those doing small businesses, we call it small, but it matters a lot. These are activities that at the end of the day, when my brother here talked about market, creation of market, when you create market and you don't have producers to fill up the market, we don't have products that will fill up the market, the market will collapse. It will not come to effect. You get it? So borrowing to tell us that you want to give it to the same women that you abandoned an affirmative action bill that would have been able to erase gender equality, erase other forms of discrimination and the cultural practices, even the strong patriarchal society that we live on. That same bill would have been able to break those barriers.
We're about to empower them financially now.
Look, when we have a say,
at least that's a way out. That's a bailout.
Never. You cannot tell me that you want to borrow loan to improve the life of a woman. Same woman that you are crushing in the society not to grow, not to come up, not to be represented, not to be consulted whenever you are doing accessible, sensitive consultations. You will not begin to look us as an inferior, a second-class citizen. We are not supposed to be at the front, and you are running to. So
you are speaking on behalf of the women now. Exactly. That you don't need this money.
We don't need it. If we actually want to improve our lives, our well-being, allow us to go to school, okay? You have to go back to the drawing table. Go and attend to the bill before you sign it into action. There are a lot of women who are kept in the puda. How will they benefit from this? So
should I see your submission as a spokesperson for the women folks?
Please, I am. You know I have always been.
Okay, that's the right mood. Anyway, let's come to Dr. Obasa. Now, the government of the day has been doing a lot. The student loan bill was signed recently.
They signed
so many bills have been coming out from the presidency. But that's not our point of call. We are looking at this money that was that is being proposed to receive from the World Bank. Is there a way we can avoid this excess borrowing?
We should.
This unnecessary borrowing.
We should. You know, look at all over the world. Just after Germany, lost the Second World War, what did America do? They implemented the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan was about building markets, building stuff, building to really to bring up the people. Once a neighborhood is destroyed, they establish banks. And those banks, they give out small loans to build markets. That's what I alluded to.
You need money to run a government.
No. The local money. You don't need borrowing. You don't need borrowing. Once you have those markets in place, you will see how the rural area, they start farming to sell to the market, and they'll be bringing it to the beginning. So 3 things I'm recommending: rural market, urban market, and then agriculture. Those 3, once you establish those 3, the economy will be booming. Okay. Yes, the economy will be booming. But if you don't have that, 2004 we had a Edo Summit. I brought Ogbemudia. I personally requested Ogbemudia to give a presentation on infrastructure because we are all fixated on infrastructure. What he told me, I was presenting. My presentation was, later Bermuda. My presentation was an agric roadmap for Edo State and Nigeria. Instead, he presented what I was presenting. That's how we became friends. All the letters he wrote me, they are all here. But he was a born leader. He said when he liberated the Midwest, the first thing they told him, how are you going to govern hungry people? So just to come to your point, when people are hungry, there's nothing you can do, So he started his Midwest food production. I'm old enough to know, our food was everywhere because we almost starved to death, So that we must go back to those 3 basics: rural markets, urban markets, and then agric.
Rural markets, urban market, and agriculture.
That will help the women down to go and borrow $500 million for them to start buying Indomie, Indomie and all those eggs, you know, imported food.
Egg roll and
Orobo. After a while, all the money will be exhausted.
Okay.
Then you have to go and look for more money for them to be. All right. Ibini we have a say when you marry when you understand what
I don't know what you
when you keep giving out to people just borrow, it's almost like we are now a beggar nation. Okay. Please, don't we have shame? I have shame each time they ask for those loans.
Okay.
But that's what
Does
it
the
is.
government have shame?
I don't think so, because we saw a program under the President Muhammadu Buhari regime. They came up with what they call market money. I think we can still remember that. We saw it under the supervision of the then Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo.
You've forgotten his
Till
name so
today,
soon?
yes, because I need to forget them. Because they gave us a lot of pain and they brought us into penury.
Less than a month.
Do you know, sir,
Tell me.
that they came up with that program, Market Money, until today, we cannot get account of what transpired. When did they make Nigeria to look as if
But he was
going
around the country to
I saw him at
interface with
Uselu
everyone.
Market here, giving 10,000 naira.
That's
Yes.
nothing. That's
For
nothing.
what? See, when these men, these politicians, come up with a policy, they use it to entice the people.
Yes.
They will they will show you the products, they will hide the costs. And the cost is the aftermath of that exercise. Now, it's just like sin that a man commits. And we all say, oh, it's Satan. Satan only shows you the beauty of the sin. But the effect of it, the Bible says, for the wages of sin is what? Death. But the death, does Satan show it to the person? The answer is a no.
You are speaking as a Christian.
A moralist.
Okay.
Let me see. Now,
Barrister backward.
these men will tell us just now that this money is meant for the poorest
Of
of
the
the
poor.
poor amongst the women folk. We saw similar thing under the President Muhammadu Buhari's regime. How many of the women got the money? How much was budgeted for that program? How much did they give out to the women? How much did they pay back as the interest and the capital collected? Who did they give the account to?
Many questions calling for answers.
So, I see this as a failure from the beginning, from the outset of it. It's a failure.
Same with me.
So the,
I think-
the $500 million is dead on arrival.
Dead.
Dead.
Is they want to share it amongst themselves. They are just
You
deceiving
can't
us.
say that.
I am
You're
saying
not
it.
sure.
I am saying it because we saw similar program under the last administration.
Okay.
And nobody accounted for anything. They didn't come out at the end of the day. There was no dossier to tell Nigerians, make publication. This was the money we used for that program. This was how much was expended. So and so got this money.
Okay.
No, today we see a lot of drama. Somebody is being prosecuted as the former central bank governor, and information has it that some of these monies are tied to the apron of these persons. So what are we talking about? Are we going to embark on another voyage of wastage? Are we going to embark on another utopian dream that is not realizable? See, they make Nigeria to look like Alice in Wonderland, and they tell us so many fairy tales that we don't understand. But someday, somebody will ask question.
The president needs to get started with work. And where should he start holding stuff from? He's been doing a lot, like I said, but even you said we don't really need the $500 million. The economy is going down. Inflation is staring at us headlong. What should the government do quickly to revive our economy?
Number one, why we are still poor the way we are and may get poorer is because we have compelled women to remain subservient. We have relegated women a lot. Any nation that does not recognize the importance of women always gets poor. Nigeria is a good example. One thing I would advise Mr. President to do is to, I have said this earlier, because we have a lot of barriers that are keeping us in the background. Women are not supposed to be relegated. Women are not supposed to be subjugated. I think this is the right time because he has seen it. It is clear, it's very glaring to him that he needs to empower women. And that is why he's running to get $500 million loan from the World Bank. I think it's the right time for him to do the right thing. That is trying to sign a bill that will break these barriers that we keep crying for. Those barriers are behind the poverty Nigeria is facing. I think if Bola Ahmed Tinubu, our president, can be able to achieve this, at least you will see us leaving the shackles of poverty, craving to improve and to make progress. Because any nation, any family that values woman, any family, any nation that appreciates and allows women to make contribution, valuable contribution in the society, can never be poor. So it is the right time for him. That $500 million
should be returned.
Loan should be returned. He should go back to his office, ask the Senate president to go through his files and zoom up the affirmative action bill. We only ask for 5 things. And these 5 things are the basic keys that will unlock Nigerian richness, that will unlock Nigerians' wealth. Because you cannot relegate some of us are in the PUDA, and you are borrowing $500 million US dollars.
What are these 5 things you're asking for before I go to the next one?
Okay, one, we are asking that women should be allowed to hold office, political or office positions. Women husbands, as in their foreign husbands, should be given citizenship, just as the same way our male folks, their wives are automatically citizens. Okay. Now we also look at the patriarchal structure that the bill will also address, like the harmful cultural practices that we do face in Nigeria. Assuming that I am a woman and I am married to another state, and you are telling me because I am married to another state, I will not be able to contest in a state where I am married to. You will ask me to go back home where I was born, my state of origin.
Represent your people.
And when I get to my state of origin, some of them will tell you that you have been married out. You go back to that state. Just imagine a nation of this nature. Okay, go to the north. Some of us are in the PUDA. You remember that our president, our former president, said it, that his wife belongs to the other room.
To the kitchen.
To the kitchen and the other room.
But that didn't play out.
No. No,
that didn't play out.
She wasn't in the other room.
No,
we saw it. We saw an advocate.
See, the first lady might be an exception. What about those in Borno State, far northeast? What are they experiencing? Majority of us do not step out of our houses because we are tied to remain there. And you are borrowing you don't want to address the problem. You are borrowing $500 million to give to who? Okay. Those who cannot even come out.
Comrade Onyechi, I need to pause you now. Let's come to you want to
I agree with you. The Senate president should really sign those bills.
And that is the solution.
I know, but
that's the solution.
No, but it's not a solution, but it's a solution to solving some women's problems.
It's not a solution. That is not a solution.
Because we need to start going now.
We saw Estella Odwa.
The wedding in Canaan. Something happened in Canaan.
Let's just wrap it.
Something happened in Canaan.
Okay.
And so Mary, when he approached Jesus Christ, that see the drinks.
He's finished, right?
Exactly. He said, whatever Whatever the woman, the mother that he appreciates, asks for.
Okay.
And whatever the mother.
All right, so whatever women ask for, we should give it to them. Okay, thank you.
I'm asking the president now
Okay.
as a woman. I have asked. Go back and bring down the affirmative action.
I just,
sign it in.
Barrister Obakpolo, let's come to you now because we need to go in the next 2 minutes.
Let me finish.
It's not me. So sorry about that. We'll have another time.
Please let her go.
We don't have time right now, but we'll certainly have time again to come back and look at that.
We will analyze it.
That will be in our subsequent edition. But quickly, now we are yet to see ministerial lists fly out. What kind of persons are you looking at? Because those that form the ministers actually, to an extent, help the economy to grow. What kind of persons are you expecting to form that list? Quickly.
I am not in the mind of Tinubu, but I know Tinubu actually is favorable to women.
Okay.
Yes, hopefully.
Are you speaking because Comrade Doris is here?
No, not because of.
I'm happy.
I'm
looking at you.
No, I know. Yes, I know. I know Tinubu. You know, back in the U.S., we were in Chicago together.
Okay.
You know, I know Tinubu. Tinubu is going to favor women, no doubt about that. You know, but to the extent that such a move will impact on the lives of the poor women is what is still a question mark, you know. And I continue to go back to the 3 items I highlighted at the beginning to alleviate the poverty of the women. Because if you go to the market, I would say about 70% of the market women of the marketers are women. Okay. I'm talking of selling of the food stuff.
Yes.
So that
farmers.
even farmers they do great work.
Okay.
So that's those
all right, Barrister Obakpolo, you are going to take the last lap. Who are you expecting? What kind of persons are you expecting?
I don't want to dream because I may not wake up from the dream. I do not see anything spectacular.
Why?
Yes, because the day a crocodile is pregnant, the crocodile knows that it will give birth to a crocodile. That is my answer.
Okay. Thank you so much, Barrister Emmanuel Obakpolo Esquire. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us. And of course, Dr. Kenwa Obaseki.
Thank you.
Hope you had a nice time in Nigeria.
Yes, I did.
Wish you safe journey back
to
your destination. Comrade Doris, it's always a delight having you on the show. I just remember that you were the first guest I ever interviewed on this platform some years back now. Thank you for always coming through. Okay, this is how far we can go on the program, 60 Minute Nigeria. Gospelin will be back next week for another fresh edition. I'm Daniel Praise Usedebame. Happy Salah.